Oh no, we're already live, John. You
What?
don't do
You're supposed
that
to
when
do
you're
that
live.
before you go live? But
Yeah.
nothing syncs up though. The internet is slow
John,
everywhere.
have you not watched Wayne's World? That teaches us all
I
the fun
have. We
lessons.
should rewatch Wayne's World.
The question is Wayne's World 1 or 2? Rob?
I don't remember 2 at all.
Number
does
1.
2 have ninjas in it?
Yes, it does. Wayne's World 2 does have ninjas in it.
Yeah.
You are correct, John.
Does it have Tia Carrere in it again?
Yes.
Yes, you are correct. Yes. Wayne Stock is number 2. Wayne
Right.
Stock.
Yeah.
I don't think I've properly seen it. I might have had it on in the background, but I don't think I've ever watched it. It's not as good as the original. It can't be, right?
It's just a replay.
moments.
Yeah, it
It
had
had-
its moments, but it's just a replay. Like the same, they do the same thing with the advertising, right? The black, with the
But there's no Heston in 1. there's Charlton Heston in 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's a kind of a weird, and then as much as I love Rob Lowe, number 2 has Christopher Walken, so it's a whole weird, whole different movie. So yeah,
Christopher Walken is a fantastic performer, though. This movie is not better than 1. Clearly, it has no place in the culture. I don't see any references to Wayne's World 2.
I don't think Wayne's World 2 had the dominance that and pop culture impact that Wayne's World 1 did, in so much as Wayne's World 1 brought back Bohemian Rhapsody, right? Like introduced a whole new generation to Queen.
Wasn't Wayne's World 2 Bohemian Rhapsody though?
No,
Wayne's World 1.
Sure.
What was the song they listened to? Was it an Alice Cooper song they listened to when they go to the Alice Cooper concert?
Yeah.
I thought that was
number 2. That was it Poison?
As the indigenous people call it, Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Honestly, with the quotes in Wayne's World 2, no, Wayne's World 2 is better. I'm gonna say it right now.
Whoa. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen it, so we'll have to test this theory.
Yeah.
We'll have to test this theory at some
We're
time.
gonna have to do an SNL movie bracket. Conehead.
Oh God, so bad.
I'm not down for that. I'm not watching.
No Conehead.
Ladies man, it's Pat. Is
Night at the Roxbury.
Night at the Roxbury. Yeah, is MacGruber part of that?
Yep,
it is. It's probably the best one. There's a Stewart movie, or
No way.
Stewart.
It's Pat. There was a movie.
Yeah.
It's Pat.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I remember that at the video store for rent, and no one rented it. we had one copy, and no one rented. It's Pat. Sorry, it's Pat.
Yeah, there's a few of those SNL movies. I think. Anyways, we're going on a tangent, Rob.
All right, welcome everybody. It is Monday night, April 17th, 2023. If you're watching this a couple years late, welcome to our Sidekick Show Heroes World podcast collaboration here. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone because my schedule sucks, so I've been screwing everything up, and we'd be missing out on some of the Heroes World podcasts. So we figured
you suck.
Yeah, hey, shut up, Rob. Shut up. So we figured we call Stu up and we try and do a collaborative episode. So we're going to talk a little bit about the news, if there is any news. I don't know if Rob gave us a sneak peek that there is none, but we'll dive into John Wick 4. So hopefully you guys have seen John Wick 4 in theaters right now. If for some reason you haven't seen it, why not? I question why would someone have not seen John Wick 4, Stu? Is it maybe they didn't see 1, 2, 3?
If you look at the box office performance, we can talk to, didn't really do as much. It really just fit the same niche. So, like, if you're in, you're in. If you're not like a new person discovering John Wick, going, hey, I wonder what this movie's about. I'll just go to the theater and watch it. Either you're in or you're out. So, and John and Rob, we're all incorrect. The Blues Brothers is an SNL movie. Why would that not be the best one?
Oh, Blues Brothers. Yeah, that's a legit movie, no?
Yeah, but John, the original Blues Brothers, not Blues Brothers
2000.
Okay.
I knew it. I knew he was like.
It's Blues Brothers, Wayne's World, Coneheads, Wayne's World 2. It's Pat. Stewart Saves His Family. Blues Brothers 2000. Night at the Roxbury. Superstar. Ladies Man. MacGruber. That is a poo-poo platter of films.
That's terrible. What? So would you guys sneak in an Andy Samberg movie like Pop Star or something like that?
That doesn't count. That's a Lonely Island.
That's what I'm saying. Could you argue for it though? He's like
no, because they weren't characters from. It's an actor from. That's like saying Beverly Hills Cop. is an SNL film because Eddie Murphy, and then by adjacency, Eddie Murphy SNL, like that's an SNL film.
But you know what? Speaking of SNL films, and I don't really know how we got on this tangent, but if people who are watching SNL now, they probably watch. I don't know if you guys do or not, but they have the "Please Don't Destroy This," vignettes, and those the three guys they're filming a movie, or it's already filmed, and it's coming out this August, I believe. It's a "Please Don't Destroy." So then their shit is really, really funny every time I watch when it comes on. It's about, they usually it's like every other week or so, and they do a little fun shit with the guest host. So listen, the SNL movies might be making a comeback depending on how well.
None of the Adam Sandler stuff you would sneak in either.
No, because it's not an SNL. None of those are characters.
No, none of the characters. Like I love Tommy Boy, but there was not a Tommy Boy character in SNL.
No.
Black Sheep. Yeah. Okay. So there's SNL cast movie
okay, so if you're gonna do it, it's SNL movies or Lorne Michaels productions. Everything Lorne Michaels has is all that stuff. He has all the SNL movies plus Tommy Boy, Black Sheep. He has like all Men on the Moon. He basically did all that weird stuff because it's. I think he's also a producer on Baby Mama. He does all the TV shows. So if anyone's gonna do it, it's Canadian. Lorne Michaels is the one.
Okay, what about the SNL cast alum versus In Living Color cast alum? Their movies.
Not even a fair contest.
Let me see. Yeah, you've got all the Jim Carrey vehicles.
Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx.
In the Living Color, and then you've got
Jamie Foxx.
What?
Yeah. So
Oscar award-winning Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. And you got all the films by name all the SNL actors that have gone through so many more. You got Eddie Murphy, who crushes everyone on that bracket.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy films crush everyone. Then you have, for example, Bill Murray. All the Bill Murray movies, Strike. He's not even a fair comparison of like.
And then we got Dan Aykroyd.
And don't forget the top one, Dana Carvey as the turtle.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
Chevy Chase is SNL too, right?
Yeah. You got Chevy Chase. Even Tina Fey. You got Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Like that. That just crushes like all that stuff. It's not even a. You have the John Belushi stuff. You have Dan Aykroyd stuff. You have technically Billy Crystal was part of the season. You also have Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, who was part of SNL for one season. So you have all of Robert Downey Jr.'s film. So you have Iron Man versus the Mask?
Handyman.
That's
okay. But shout outs to the Wayans family. They're like a whole legacy legend in
Glimmer Man.
And
a low down dirty shame.
And John, as you forget, one of our favorite movies, Beverly Hills Ninja, starring Chris Farley, was also
that's Robin's show. Robin's show. I thought he was going to be the next great martial artist, and then he ends up on Beverly Hills Cop.
And then now you have like Bill Hader, who's doing Barry, and then Anthony Michael Hall. You have lots of people. All those Anthony Michael Hall show, like Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, all that stuff also counts. So it's a stacked deck, dude.
Yeah. All right. It'll be interesting. I guess we can explore that. But anyways, that was our whole SNL tangent. So thank you, folks, for joining us. We are going to get to. Yeah. See you guys. Thanks. That was a great discussion, guys.
And John's also forgetting Mike Myers. So I Married an Axe Murderer. All this stuff goes on and on and on. Austin Powers.
Man, nobody talks about Mike Myers' catalog other than Wayne's World anymore. Even Austin Powers, I feel like it's dropped out of the culture for some reason.
Austin Powers 4, 2025.
And then John, and then there's Chris Rock's CB4. Like there's some good Chris Rock stuff. It's like, see, Chris Rock has got some Head of State, Pootie Tang, a lot of movies out there.
Oh man, Pootie Tang, yeah.
I would say though, I would think though that Adam Sandler probably has the biggest output of those movies. Movies. Than
Adam Sandler, else. Will Ferrell has all.
He could have his own streaming service. Adam Sandler.
Will Ferrell, Old School. You have all his weird Talladega Nights. You have a lot of Will Ferrell, Blades of Glory, Step Brothers, Anchorman. It's dude. And then Martin Short was a cast member. So you have all the Three Amigos. You have all the Father of the Brides movies. All those are big hits. So you can't even count it, dude. And then Jason Sudeikis, our boy, Ted Lasso. John, how do you do this?
Ted Lasso season 3. All right. So segue into that. We like to open the show up with how was your weekend? What did you get caught up on? What did you watch? I'm sure Stu's all caught up on Ted Lasso. I don't know if he's savoring it for the whole season. But we'll start with Rob. What did you get up to this weekend?
I have not watched any Ted Lasso. I'm waiting. Okay, so in our private chats with our friend Andre, he and Stu are kind of going on about Star Trek Picard season 3 and how great it's been.
Yeah,
I think the finale either aired or is airing soon.
It's coming up this Thursday, the finale, I believe.
So I haven't really been. I did not like season 1 at all. But then Stu was like, Andre said he didn't like season 2 at all, which at that point meant I would probably enjoy it. But they've been raving about season 3. So I ended up crushing season 2. Within the last
he said season 3 and this guy went to season 2.
Yeah, well, because I can't Stu was like, you have to watch at least the first episode of season 2 to understand what's going on in season 3. And at that point, if I'm watching the first episode, I gotta watch all of them. I can't just watch
technically no. You're just watching it just for the cool clips of that one character, and then you can just wash your hands of it. It had nothing to do with
what I watched it. I watched all season 2, so now I'm but also I've also fallen down a rabbit hole of watching the WWE network and all their biography shows on the wrestling stuff and their rivals. And so literally the last week since our last show, I've just been crushing wrestling, biography shows and Star Trek Picard. So that's about it. And I got my pool open, guys. So pool party soon.
Yeah. In this freeze, it did freeze over again today.
No, not yet. The pump is running. So hopefully we don't get slush in the morning.
All right, Stu. What's the update on Ted Lasso? Are we going to be happy with this?
I've been consistent with Ted Lasso and The Mandalorian, which both of you are not. I've been very happy with the way that Ted Lasso has been rolling. So far so good. I think it's moving at a good pace, and I don't want to ruin anything, but I like everything I see so far. The final season of The Marvelous Miss Maisel dropped on Friday, so I caught up to 3 episodes there. It was good times. And yeah, Ted Lasso, Picard.
Maisel is like the stand-up. It's like she's a stand-up comedian or something like that.
It's basically the Pallerinos from Gilmore Girls. Made their show. So yeah, it's great. And I watched that, and then I finally caught up on the last 5 episodes of One Piece. So now I'm all up to date, baby, on the anime side.
600 and something, probably.
600? No, John. 1,000. I think 1,000. 1,020, to 1,288 or something like that. So the anime, the book is still ahead, but in terms of the episode count, what was that? It's I was able to bang out 5 episodes that they're going at. So the most recent one, is 1,058. So yeah, episode. And as you know, those are watching at home, I made a promise during the pandemic that I was going to do what I always said I was going to do and watch One Piece. And it took me the whole pandemic, but I caught up both in the anime and in the manga. So I'm also way ahead in the manga. So I'm still probably, to be fair, and the manga, I'm they're I think 200 ahead. So yeah, that's where I'm at there. So I think they're 1,000. Yeah. Anyways, I have to scroll through and figure out what number they're at. But
this is astronomical, Stu. That this thing is over 1,000 episodes. Rob, can you think of anything in North American culture that's over 1,000 something plus episodes?
Yeah, any given soap opera. I don't know,
1,000 though.
Oh yeah, because a lot of the soap opera's been running since so
Days of Our Lives might be on comparison or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the manga, sorry, is 1081 is the current count, or
Look, it's
1080.
true. No one's gonna fact check you on it.
and then the next one coming up with, things are happening. 1081 is coming out.
Things are finally. It's been a slow burn these first 1,000 episodes, but things are starting to move.
You know what? Here's the thing about this show compared to other ones. It is very good at providing and rewarding you for Easter eggs, and the arcs can move consistently across. The characters grow, they get large, like more characters are involved. Like it truly is like this world, and I think there's a lot of us who are excited that this is the arc coming up is the final arc. So we know it's going to end soon, although ending is questionable because even the last arc was like 400 issues / episodes to get to that. So it'll probably take about that many to get to the final One Piece. But I think a lot of us are excited, and then One Piece Red dropped as well. So that was the movie that came out a little while ago.
Yeah. It's doing really well. Like I have people that come to the shop all the time asking for One Piece stuff. So kids, and some of them are younger kids. So I'm like, I question if they have even 1,000+ episodes.
Well, it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the first 800 episodes are like on, I don't know, the first 600 episodes are on Netflix in dubbed, so you can start going through it. And then there's 400 that are subtitled.
Look at
and then there's the live action show, right? So they're doing that live action show that's like people are like kind of excited about.
How long are these episodes?
22 minutes, and I would say really it's 18 minutes an episode because you have the recaps and like this is what happened and that's what happened, kind of like Dragon Ball. But if you really condense it, it's like 18 minutes per episode. So yeah,
So Lewis dropped this fact that One Piece has been going on since October 20th, 1999. Like that is friggin' ridiculous. Like I don't think I could do it. Rob, I know you're not a huge anime guy.
You spent 300 hours.
Look at Rob. You did the math. Did you do it in your head or did you do it on paper?
Rob, it was a pandemic. There wasn't much to do. I don't know if you realize, Rob, we had a global pandemic. I couldn't leave my house, so I just said, "Oh, just a country."
Wait, you guys didn't leave your house? What? We were. That was real.
It was not a simulation.
Yes, the pandemic was real, Rob.
Yeah, so yeah, that was like one of my big achievements and goals. And the people that hear
such a weird goal. I want to watch 1,000 episodes.
I'm impressed.
Honestly, here's the thing, Rob. Like like Lewis mentioned, it started in like 1999, and everything. I was like, I'll get to it, and it got to the point where it's like, oh my god, it's 600 episodes. That's too much. Forget it. And then all this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So that's it. So yeah.
I don't think I could do it. I tried to get into Dragon Ball at one point, and then I couldn't do it. There was too much filler. But I heard One Piece has got way less of that problem.
Oh, way less. And the thing is, with the One Piece is like you'll meet stronger characters, but there's a progression of the character's growth and strength. As to like Dragon Ball, like they're already all badasses. So it's like, oh, well, who's gonna show up and like, oh, another guy that's super strong. This is kind of like a slow build, but a really slow build. But it's totally worth the time.
I need Topher Grace to like condense the summary of it into like 5-minute chunks so I can catch up. But anyways, I caught up on. I finished Beef. Stu, did you not watch Beef?
I watched the first 4 episodes and I'm like, I gotta take a break.
it's intense.
It
gets crazy.
It's rough, man. Like I think I had this conversation with my friend the other day. Like that's why I love Ted Lasso. Like it's so much more happy and it's upbeat.
Yeah,
it's rough when you watch some of these other shows. It's like I just want something happy, which is kind of why we haven't talked about it, but all of us. But I think that's why Air, that new Michael Jordan / Ben Affleck film, is going to crush because it's like an 80s-ish happy film that people are just going to watch, and it's going to be just like, oh yeah, it was a good time. We're just tired of the slow anti-hero burn and churn and dark films. It's like the Batman like song from Lego Batman, Darkness. It's like we're just tired. We just need something good. And I found that with Beef, it was some really exceptional work, but it was so cringe at times. I'm like, I can't do this. Like I need a break.
Yeah. I like the work that Ali Wong is in and a part of. But I don't think I'm the biggest fan of her as a performer in the work. So I don't know if they should have got someone else. And other than that, I think she still gave a good performance despite that fact. And if you want to watch it, it is described as a dark comedy. I question the comedy elements, but it does explore some really cool things that will make you kind of go, huh, maybe I might want to do something, change the way I do something on the daily. But anyway, since you already mentioned the whole idea of Air, I know Air was like I think a $90 million movie, right? In theaters now. I don't know if anyone watched it, or if you guys are just going to wait for it to pop on streaming.
Streaming. It's
yeah.
supposed to hit.
It's gonna be on Amazon
Prime.
like very soon, right?
Yeah, I think
Prime,
it's like the beginning of May or something on Prime. So
yeah, okay. So we'll save Air for
although
later.
my son did watch it, so he went to the theater with a couple of friends last weekend, and he saw over Easter weekend, I think, and he saw it. And he actually, the two people he went with were like, "This is shit," but he loved it. He said it was great. So,
does he own a pair of Jordans? Does he have several Jordans in his collection?
He doesn't have several. He bought his first pair of Jordans.
Ooh.
Prior to this, and what's that?
What Jordans?
Which ones?
If I know, I don't know.
The ones with Michael Jordan going like this on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They're his shoes. I don't know. He bought them.
Well, a brand new pair or like a vintage, like
no, like a brand new pair. They're orange and white. I don't know. They're like mid tops. So, yeah, whatever.
Right.
But now he wants to buy more. I'm like, yeah, good luck. That's on you.
Okay, look forward to the future episode where it's Air versus Moneyball, and we have Chris O and Stu on, and we have the showdown to see if Air is better than Moneyball. But thanks everybody for sharing your weekend. I saw, I think Lewis said he is caught up on Mando and Picard. A lot of people talking about Mando. I feel like I hear more people. I hear more people talking about Picard lately than Mando. But I am enjoying Mando. We're gonna probably talk about that on one of the Heroes World podcasts later on.
We will. We have to catch up.
Lots to talk about for that one. I think even Andre is going to be in for that one, so that will be an interesting one.
Yeah, I got to catch up on that.
Yeah, what? You're not caught up with the freak
on Mandalorian? You know what the problem is? I have a 14-year-old who has a way more intense social life than I do, and trying to schedule things is next to impossible. So
well, good for you for trying to spend that time with your son. I think that's good.
Yeah, Noah.
It's dick. But anyways, so let me jump into what's new at Heroes World before we get too deep into it. I did want to share that we did run the Magic pre-release over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people came out. Brand new set, March of the Machine. It is on sale now at our shop. So we got the new decks, the new packs, all kinds of fun stuff for that. And I want to show off a couple quick other things that we are getting in. We are on the way. We are getting these new McFarlane Dark Knight trilogy figures. A little behind the ball, but it's a bunch of companies are releasing stuff to do with these movies for some reason. So these look pretty good.
The licensing, John, is cheap. That's what it is.
Hit that discount echelon, right?
Yeah, it's like, you know how
that scarecrow doesn't look like Scarecrow.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. They've done some creative things with lighting here, but they do look like nice figures. And the 4 figures in the front are the ones that you buy, and they each come with a piece of Bane. So you build the Bane figure in the back. So Toy Photography, if you're not doing it or following it on Instagram, check it out. Also, Hot Toys is releasing this new version of Bruce Wayne standing with his arms folded with the bat suit in the background. And this Bruce Wayne is as you see him. He is unarticulated. But I guess people really wanted to see those jacked forearms of Christian Bale.
So it's just a statue.
Dude, look at those guns. Woo!
Yeah, it's a non-articulated figure. It's basically a head holder. So that Christian Bale sculpt is new for this figure. It looks pretty good.
This is for Dark Knight Rises, because I think he had a knee brace, a leg brace on his leg.
Yeah, in that picture, I don't know if I had the picture for it, but there's you can't see it in that picture. You can kind of see it, but yeah, there is a knee brace there. There's that picture there.
Yeah.
How you guys feel about this head sculpt? Does that look like Christian Bale to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's a young Christian Bale. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the knee brace. As an old man that has knee problems,
I respect representation.
I respect the guy that needs a knee brace. I'm like, all right,
I'd like him to come with a side of two ibuprofens and a prescription would be great.
He comes with one of those vitamin pill boxes that has the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on it.
Remember what Vince would always say? There was that story where Jeremy Lin asked him, how does he deal with pain? He's like, yeah, I just take Advil and Tylenol before each game, and that helps me do things well. Oh, both. Got it. Cool.
I just take them all. You take them all.
Yeah,
And
mitigate
then
pain. Just take them both.
and then we are getting the new NECA. They're doing a whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossed over with the Universal Monsters. The latest one is this Michelangelo as the Mummy. And we do still have the Raphael's Frankenstein. And then Leonardo's Hunchback is coming out soon. And we did have April as Bride of Frankenstein. So if you're interested in those toys, let me know. Or the Hot Toys pre-order, hit me up. But let me kick it to Rob for the news, and then we're going to get to John Wick 4, guys. So if you've seen John Wick...
we're not going to take up too much time because there's a lot to talk about with John Wick, especially with the four of us. So just a couple of news stories. Last week, Warner Brothers Discovery had their investors discussion. And I guess one of the biggest points to come out of it, there was not much about DC that did drop, but I guess probably the biggest news that came out is that Warner Brothers are rebooting Harry Potter, but instead committed to 7 years as a television series. Each book or year is one season. So, like, I don't know if you guys are Potter heads, I guess is what they're called. I don't know if
Stu is for
read
sure.
the book. But, like, obviously, this is like 20 years ago, right? Where these movies essentially. So Stu obviously doesn't give two flying farts about this, but John, like, do you think this is the better way to tell the Harry Potter?
Well, it's out of the limelight now, especially with some J.K. Rowling's people are not happy with some things, I guess she said. Stu can probably fill that in. But I know those last couple movies really burned everybody out of the series. Like, I'm pretty sure it happened to Stu and a lot of other people. Those last movies burned them out. So, yeah, you have to bring it back to the culture. You want to sell those wands. You want to sell. There was a miniature game at one point that we could have carried, but we skipped on it. But there was all these things coming out for it, pop vinyls, all that kind of stuff. So they need to get it back out there. So 100%, this is what they got to do, despite if you want to see it or not. Stu, what are your thoughts?
I'm not touch that with a 10-foot pole, John. I'll just say, at the standpoint, she made some comments. You can Google it yourself and make your own decisions there. In terms of the property, I think everyone knows my opinion in terms of, when the books fell off the rail when we had 300 pages of Quidditch. You could tell when the editors no longer could tell her what to do because she just did what she wanted. As Cartman says, I do what I want. So I think the first couple books were really tightly written and with a little bit of guidance, a little bit of, just like many movies and things in life, you need a good editor. You need someone to help you slash. You can't make these things go too far. And it gets to the point where it gets convoluted. She forgets the fact that the Horcrux, how that works and operates, and you just get to the end. You're like, you wrote yourself in the corner, and she's like, Mulligan, don't worry about it. We're gonna get to that point. So I think that it's a franchise that, frankly, owes all of it to the Book of Magi. That's basically, if you want to read that, read the Neil Gaiman books, who has another young boy with glasses and an owl.
Oh yeah,
magic in the DC universe. So just read that book and carry on, and don't worry about that. And he also deals with Constantine and all the different characters of magic into the thing. And similar, he's from the Merlin bloodline and to be the next Merlin. So those are the type of things that make sense. I get what you're saying. They're selling the idea of Harry Potter. I know even the rumor, John and Rob, Rob was probably going to continue next after my rambling about, could there be the movie where they bring back all the actors? And there are rumors about, them coming back to do, the film, the next film, as they age into age appropriateness, which they were not in the last film of the Harry Potter films. So yeah, I think people want to love it, but I know a lot of people that just can't commit and can't support the product anymore. So that's I'm sure with the next reboot, we have a prequel coming down to the Hunger Games. So if you want, you could just jump onto that gong show there too, which is an also terrible property that went off the rails. So needless to say, many of these things, I think, Rob, even Divergent, Hunger Games, really find it hard to stick the landing. And that's why I think that we all appreciate Endgame, because it just did it. It's like, oh wow, the Avengers Endgame, it landed. They didn't fall on their face. Great. And then that's why it's so hard to catch up with, because Endgame just hit the landing and everything else is trying to just be there, and it's hard. I'm just saying, life is hard, John.
Rob the pothead? Yeah.
What? No. All right. And so talking about from one rebooting or revisiting of a series to another, about a year and a half ago, MGM sold their rights, their catalog of movies and television properties and IP to Amazon Prime for, I believe it was about $8.5 billion. Obviously, everybody was like salivating because this includes James Bond, but it actually doesn't include James Bond and the catalog. Sorry, folks. However, there is a bunch of IP that Amazon are now saying, well, we've had this for about a year and a half. We got to do something with this. And some of those properties include RoboCop, Barbershop, Stargate, and John's ultimate favorite, in which he has 3 pairs of bed sheets, Legally Blonde. Hey. So what are you guys thinking? I mean, they are looking at bringing these back as either movies, television, or both. So RoboCop, they already had a reboot. It didn't go very well. I think Legally Blonde probably will, only because it's had a Broadway show, and I think they're talking about a new sequel movie with Reese Witherspoon. But everything else, what are you guys thinking from MGM Library? This also includes, guys, the Rockies franchise. So what are your thoughts on Amazon trying to mine that MGM property and getting out these new?
Stu, you want to go first?
John, you go ahead, because I have a lot of thoughts. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So RoboCop, I'm interested. I'm always interested in RoboCop stuff. I used to watch that terrible TV show that had the really corny, cheesy theme song. It was like in the heart of the darkness, and it was like RoboCop being this good guy trying to save it. Yeah, look it up. It's a funny ass song. It's like the like 80s glam style silliness. And I feel like that. What's his name that played? I'm drawing a blank. Who played RoboCop again?
Peter Weller?
Yeah, Peter Weller. He's on this. No, I'm mixing him up with the 70s show guy. I'm like, he's on TV right now anyways. He was on Sons of Anarchy and a bunch of stuff. What if they did like an old man RoboCop show?
You're right. The guy that is Eric Foreman's, Red Foreman, was in RoboCop. Yeah. He was.
Yeah, he was the guy who got his hand, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
His moniker as RoboCop. For some reason, I mixed them up. But yeah, okay, yeah. So Peter Weller has done some TV. It'd be funny to see him back as old RoboCop. But yeah, RoboCop, I'm down with anything they want to do. And Legally Blonde, I think, would work. Because you want lawyer shows, you want comedies. I think Reese has done some TV lately too, right? So
yeah. Her production company.
Yes. Yeah. Stu, what do you got?
I think Legally Blonde works because everyone loves. There's type of shows that work. It's a procedural law show, procedural hospital show, procedural cop show, procedural fireman show. Yeah. There's like all that stuff is like every time you think they're done with hospitals, right? Nope. They're another hospital show.
Here's another one.
They're done with cop shows. Nope. Another cop show. So it's a genre and a thing that never ends because it's concise, it's sharp, it gets things done. So Legally Blonde makes a lot of sense in terms of like, she's now practicing lawyer and doing stuff and like her cases or whatnot. It'd be really difficult to be, I guess, the shtick of her, the hook, without, I guess, ruining Legally Blonde 1, where she makes a discovery based on some shampoo and conditioner. So it'd be really hard for that type of stuff to like be the like. It would be fun if that was every episode. Like she was able to basically discern through a product. I guess product integration. It's like, oh, because of your Axe body spray, you're guilty or not guilty. So maybe that's a way to subsidize. So I think that makes sense. RoboCop, again, police show, makes a lot of sense. I'm the most interested in Stargate because Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe. There's been 3 massive shows and a movie that's populated. And people were very, Stargate SG-1.
What's Richard Dean Anderson doing now too, right?
Well, he actually got some sort of injury, so like he had to go to surgery. He's actually been not health-wise very good, which is difficult for him. But Chris Judge, who's the voice of Kratos, that's where his thing is all from, and he was also in Batman, that movie for like a 2-second thing, and then Jason Momoa, who was nothing and then came on to Stargate Atlantis, and everyone's like, oh yeah, he took the job from Rainbow Franks. I don't know if you remember that VJ
Rainbow Sun Franks.
VJ. Yeah, he was on it, and then they took him out, and they're like, yeah, we'll just add another guy instead, and they brought in Jason Momoa, and he was basically Jason Momoa just having fun on TV, and you're like, oh, this show's great. Look, there's Jason Momoa. So I think that property makes
Baywatch. Post Baywatch, I think.
Way after, like so far after the motorcycle accident where he got like scarred up. So it's one of those things where it's a property that can continue because those type of explore shows and can be filmed in Vancouver and everything works. That Stargate show is money in the bank. So yeah, it makes if they're good, they would bring back the original brain trust to do it in Vancouver again, the Stargate shows. But we'll see. I think once they stop producing the shows, people really wanted that universe back, and it's been a good 16 years since Stargate, the TV show, probably has been on TV. So it's been a long time since Stargate Universe, and that was Robert Carlyle and that was a really good Stargate show. I think a little too dark, why people didn't like it. It turned differently, but it's Ming Na was in that show too, and so Lou Diamond Phillips. So it has a
La Bamba.
Yeah, I think of him more from The Big Hit, but whatever.
I think of him more from Young
Trace
Guns,
Buster.
Chavez.
Yeah, John knows Buster with Mark Wahlberg, and then Rob goes straight to
Buster.
And Rob goes straight to Young Guns with Emilio Estevez.
That's what you're dealing with, Stu. That's what you got. Clowns to the left, you jokers to the right.
But anyways, I think it's all great. Like I think under the right leadership and mindset, I think the problem is with Stargate that there's such a feverish fan base behind it, and if you do it without the blessing of that group, it's not going to go anywhere. So
bring back James Spader with his balding hair to do it now and reprise his role.
It's funny. Kurt Russell and him talked about doing that movie like 20 years ago. Like that movie came out like 30 years ago, but they were talking about like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do it? But because the Stargate show was very popular, it was still in syndication. I correct me if I'm wrong, someone. It was at least 14. I feel like it was like 14 seasons of Stargate.
It was long. It was long. It had a cult following.
They brought in like they brought in all the people from Farscape by the end of it. I was like, oh, there's Ben Godwin, and then there's like Claudia Black, and I'm like, all these people from that universe, and then Marina from Marina
Baccarena, whatever.
Yeah, from Firefly showed up at the end, and then like all these, like there's a lot of characters. Anyway,
so Lewis has got us here. Stargate 1, 10 seasons. Stargate A, 4 seasons.
Stargate Atlantis was more than 4 seasons, was it not?
Stargate U, 2 seasons. He says he thinks 4 seasons, so I guess it might be a little more. But yeah, that's a lot of content. That's a lot of content.
And then
something that has disappeared.
To be fair, and there was also a Stargate TV, like a cartoon show that people don't talk about.
Yeah. I see the toys. Once in a while, I see the toys at the toy show. It's in like the $2 bin, but a show would certainly elevate that.
Stargate Infinity is the TV show for 1 season. Stargate SG-1 was 10 years.
All this off that movie, eh?
Yeah, Atlantis was 5 seasons. Atlantis was 5 seasons, yeah. All that for 1 movie, yeah. And then 2 directed straight to video, Stargate Arc of Truth and Stargate Continuum. So yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that's the news we've had. Let me see. We'll go a rundown quickly. We've talked about at the beginning of the show. What? The what? SNL. We had a massive SNL thing. We've just done a massive Stargate, and now we're going to jump into a massive John Wick.
Okay. One more thing. Did you guys see the story that this is supposed to be the last Indiana Jones? Like they're gonna pack it up after this one. Do you care?
Let's find out how much that money makes first. Harrison Ford seems to be like changing his opinion on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's like, you know what? It's not bad actually. I thought it was the end. It's like, you know what? I'm fine with this. You know, it's
good.
He
do it with money.
Back is Indiana Jones. That's it. Yeah. He's over. It's over.
He's done. Harrison Ford's done. But is there an Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford?
Well, yeah, there was an Indiana Jones television series without Indiana Jones.
Young Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah.
Hey, what if part of this deal they had James Bond Jr. and then all of a sudden you saw a bunch of movies coming out, James Bond Jr. instead? That'd be hilarious.
It made no sense because it was his nephew. It was his
Yep.
Worst show ever.
Let's just say James Bond was a little free and easy back then. It's a nephew.
Are you saying James Bond was like, betting women and may have impregnated a whole bunch of them across the country?
I'm just saying until the 23andMe comes out, I don't believe anything. Give me the paternity test. I want him on more and be like, you are not the father. So Rob, I think that narrative is incorrect. I need DNA evidence.
Yeah.
He's like Nick Cannon or something.
Which can't name his 12 kids, by the way. He forgot one name.
Oh yeah,
It was bad. They asked him to name all your kids.
Sometimes I get mine mixed up. I only have two.
Didn't he? Right? Didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a dog. I'm like, what am I?
Yeah. Boa.
All right, folks.
Bibby. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right, folks. Thanks for sticking with us for all of that. Thank you guys for that. All the news, Rob. Thank you for pulling what you could. And as always, thanks Stu for joining us. But we're gonna get into John Wick Chapter 4. So if you guys have seen it, awesome. If you haven't, we'll keep it spoiler free for the first little bit.
No,
and with our recommendations of why you should be going to see this. But first and foremost, we do want to say rest in peace to Lance Reddick. Great performer, definitely gone before his time. A lot of key roles. John Wick being one of our favorite, but I'm sure a lot of you know him from The Wire and all kinds of other projects. Yeah, Fringe, lots of things. So great loss. And it's sad that he's not going to be in this new one and anything going forward. No cameos in the Continental or anything like that. But unless they film some stuff beforehand, which would be a nice like Easter egg. So shout outs to him, especially in John Wick 3, which is going to come up later in the discussion when him and Keanu were teaming up. Thank God we have that whole sequence with the two of those guys together. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Apparently he's in the other film.
What? Oh, the ballerina one, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think he's. I don't know if it's filmed already, but he was.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's in that film. I think he
Interesting.
counts.
All right, so that's something to look forward to.
So he'll be in that film. That will be his last film, But yeah, he's technically in the ballerina.
Oh, interesting. All right. So
because it was
Rob,
filmed
did you
like 2022, right? So and they're pre-production right now. So they probably won't do post-production. They probably won't like change stuff that he's in, but he's in it.
Yeah. All right, let's rock and roll. Look forward to that little one. Do you have a rundown for this, Rob? Or no rundown?
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Come prepared. All right, boys, girls, children of all ages. John Wick Chapter 4, as the title suggests, is the fourth entry in the John Wick film saga. John, we had to clarify that just for you. Production of this movie was confirmed well before the release of John Wick 3 Parabellum. Returning to the director chair is Chad Stahelski for this for the first time. However, for the first time in the franchise, a new set of writers were brought in, Shay Hatton and Michael Finch. Now, of course, returning to the movie is Keanu Reeves, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, as we just discussed, as well as Lawrence Fishburne. But along for this journey is Pennywise himself, Bill Skarsgård, Hiroyuki Sanada, Clancy Brown, and Donnie Yen. The movie was originally set to be released May 21st, 2021. However, there was this global pandemic that Stu keeps mentioning that caused the delay to March 24th of this year. Now, initially, when Lionsgate announced that they had greenlit John Wick Chapters 4, they also mentioned, hey, we're also doing 4 and 5, and they're going to be filmed back to back. But during production or pre-production of John Wick Chapter 4, Stahelski had a lot of discussions with star Keanu Reeves, and they wanted to bring it all for Chapter 4 with no intention or promise of a Chapter 5. Now, does this mean that John Wick series is dead? I don't know. Hard to say. In numerous interviews over the past few weeks, Stahelski has reiterated as much, but Lionsgate did come out recently to say they are willing to go all in again on Chapter 5. So at this time, it's really up to Stahelski and Reeves. If one, they want to go back to the Wikiverse, and nice. Two, if they have a story to tell. Otherwise, this may be the final movie in the franchise, but fear not. The spin-off movie we're just referring to, The Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, will be dropping next summer. I think they released July of 2024. And supposedly you are going to see John Wick again in a heavier than a cameo role from Keanu Reeves, as that movie takes place before the events of Chapter 4. Also, there's this Continental series that Stu is really looking forward to, and that drops later this summer, but we're not going to get into that right now. Okay.
How many episodes, Rob? I believe it's been cut or
three long episodes. Now, while John Wick only had a budget of 25 million, the stakes are much higher here, with number 4 getting a budget of about 100 million and has only grossed thus far about 350 million worldwide, which I guess isn't too bad for it being out for just shy of a month. The movie, shy of 3 hours in length, was a massive hit with critics and audiences. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, the score sits at 94% fresh, with critics and 93% with audiences. So my question here is for John. John, are you all in on Chapter 4, or are you still struggling to pronounce Parabellum?
Parabellum. But yeah, John Wick 4, folks. Yeah, this movie, I think it delivered on the goods. We'll give our overall thoughts on it. Keep it spoiler free. If you haven't seen this movie, 100%. If you've seen 1, 2, and 3, there's no reason you should not be seeing this in theaters. This is definitely call the babysitter or whatever, and go and experience this with an audience, and have people kind of reacting to all the craziness going on screen. But I don't think I could really ask for more. In kind of, if this was considered a finisher for whatever they've come before it. But this movie certainly delivered on what it was toting it was going to do. But let's hear from Stu. You want to go next, or you want to let Rob get in?
No, Rob can go.
It's fine. Rob can go.
Let's go, Rob.
Oh, my thoughts on the matter? Is that what you're asking, John?
Yeah, general overall thoughts on the film. Should people go see this? I know you saw it twice.
Yes. Okay. So I did go to the theater to see it twice. So I spent 6 hours numbing my ass off in the theater to watch John Wick 4. I found that this movie is probably the most linear story since number 1. It's A to B with one small little side mission. There's no branching off into different shit like I found with the other sequels. It's pure ruckus and mayhem. And you just have to give in. This is essentially the action, like a running gun action version of the Fast and Furious movies. Like, suspension of disbelief is long gone, right? Like, it's bordering on absurdity, but like fun absurdity, right? So for me, this was a home run. I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait to get this at home and watch it again. I could sit, and that 3 hours will just fly by. Obviously, I have some of my favorite scenes, and there is a lot that could have been trimmed, but overall, I'm happy with John Wick Chapter 4.
Stu?
Wow. I would say a lot more has to be trimmed. It was really unnecessarily long movie.
Yeah,
I really was like pulling my phone out. I'm like, how long is this thing? Kind of like, what's going on? Like,
wow.
It was like, I think that they did some things, but like some of the stunt choreography was basically just over and over and over. I get it; it was cool the first time, but do I need to see it 3 times in a row in the same sequence?
Yes.
No. So, like, I found that the movie was fine. Nothing meets the heights of John Wick 1, and then 2 and 3 is fine, and then there's 4. So, like, I again, the sequences, I think. The third act is really incredible, but 1 and 2 I could live without. I'm like, cool, whatever. I think that's where the movie shines. And if you had the opportunity to watch it in theaters, it's great. But I think the we kind of alluded to before is that if you're in the John Wick universe, you're in. But this is not really like a welcoming experience to anyone else. Like if you brought a date, you're like, can we movie John Wick 3? I don't know what that is. Just come along, we'll be fine. You just be like, I don't know. Like, I got nothing. So it's truly not a film that's inviting for you. And I think, Keanu was fine. Like, I just don't think there's anything in this film that really, I think, just so heavily focused on the trying to do the final sequences very well that you lost why the whole thing even transpired, which was John Wick 1, when you actually had a lot of kind of time with Keanu. This kind of like, yep, cool, man. So yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, so since Stu touched on it, we'll jump to the cast. You're talking about John Keanu. We'll start with Keanu. And maybe Stu, I think he probably only had maybe like a a page worth of lines. So yeah, guys, we're gonna get into spoilers.
4 words were spoken in this.
Maybe. Yeah, it's like let's go or whatever.
Yeah,
I need guns.
But so
it's like,
how
are
do
you
feel about Keanu
are you
overall?
ready, John Wick? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. And I'm like, oh god.
I do love the opening where it's literally just him smashing this board with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going full spoilers now, folks. Any other thoughts on Keanu, Stu, before we let Rob?
I think we should talk about whether you should see this movie like in the theater or not, right? Like everyone agreeing that this is better.
I think you have. I think you're right when you said you have to be invested. So if you've watched 1, 2, 3, even if you haven't seen those in theater, if you've watched them all on home video now and caught up, maybe you relate to the party. Now you 100% have to owe it to 4 to go see that in the theaters. We did bring in one buddy who had not seen them, and he didn't get it at all. He was like, "Why isn't this guy dying? What the hell is going on?" He didn't get it, even though the movie has such elaborate scenes. He couldn't appreciate them all because he was too busy questioning why this guy was kind of like invincible. So if for some reason you haven't seen 1, 2, 3, or you weren't a fan, this is not going to change your mind.
I think we talked before. All of us were guilty about not seeing John Wick 1 in the theaters. Maybe Rob did. I did not. You did?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think John and I were guilty of not seeing the theaters, the first one, but then everyone since we've gone. But yeah, if it makes sense, go for it. But if you have to watch at home only, you won't miss that much outside of the theater. If you got, it's fine.
I think because of the length, I give people a pass if they want to watch it at home because it is kind of long.
But for me, it flew by. Like,
Rob did not get tired of people getting shot in the face.
No.
All right, so we all recommend you go see it in theaters. Stu's thoughts on Keanu already. He kind of stated. Rob, what are your thoughts on Keanu? Has he still got some gas?
We're giving a rating out of 10, by the way. What's our rating? I'm waiting for this.
Yeah, we'll do it at the end. We have to
do it before the spoilers. How are you gonna know?
All right, fine. You guys all know what I'm gonna give it.
11.
I feel like it should get the 11. No, if and we'll get to this later when we talk about maybe our own director's cut or whatever. If it was a little bit tighter, then I think it would get above 10 for me. But for me, it delivered on what I wanted to see. Keanu, Donnie Yen, who we're going to talk about later, everything. So it gets a 10 out of 10 for me.
You're the only person who can make a 10 out of 10 sound so like blasé, like disappointing.
Rob.
I'm sorry, guys. I can only give this a 10.
Rob, you have to understand. Asian parents, like this is Rob, you won an Olympic gold medal, but where's the second Olympic gold medal? Like, I don't understand. Where's number 2?
Bonus work.
Yeah. You won the Stanley Cup, but you didn't win the Conn Smythe as the most valuable player. So what's the next thing?
You gotta take home all the awards.
Yeah, you get the next level. Rob, what are you giving this thing out of 10?
Listen, I'm gonna fault this movie throughout the course. Like I will agree with you. There it's bloated in certain areas, and it's absurd. But it's absurd to such a fun extent. And for me, it rejuvenated the franchise. Like I thought it was a great button on it. That I'm gonna give it. I'm giving it an 8.5.
Oh, that's pretty high. Stu?
7.
7? Oh, I think that's still good.
It's fine.
It's fine. You did rag on it, but 7 is still pretty good.
Fine. 7's not a pass, John. And for as if I was to bring that home as a report card, John.
For Caucasians, that's you're getting into university.
John, if you brought that home, it's like what you're sleeping in the backyard tonight, buddy. Yeah, that's not good enough.
Keys to the car, allowed to drive to Timmy's for a double. That's what it's.
You're gonna auto detail my car as a 7. No. In what world is a 7 acceptable? As an Asian, Asian, no. South Asian, no. No.
Good. I thought you were gonna give it lower, Stu. I thought for sure you were gonna do 6.
No, because again, Act 3 is so good. Like once they get to the hotel and onwards, like the action sequences are really good. So yeah. Gord, 7 is the ranking out of 10.
Stu just gave it a 7 out of 10.
John gave it a 10. Rob gave it 8.5, and here we are. That's what our
all right. So now full spoilers on the table. Rob, Stu already talked about Keanu. Keanu, however you guys want to pronounce it.
Keanu.
Keanu.
But Rob, how do you feel about Keanu? Still got some gas in the tank?
Listen, you can't deny the guy and his commitment to the craft of like martial arts, to selling the fight sequences, right? Like we've all seen the behind the scenes stuff. We've all heard how wonderful of a guy he is. He carries. We saw the photos in production of this movie, carrying the production equipment up the stairs, like so. Great guy. As it comes to this movie, to be honest with you, I'm happy that this is hopefully the end of it, right? Like we're going to see him in the ballerina, but I feel that his performance has kind of waned. He's a bit long in the tooth. Like you could tell the dye jobs and everything else. Like he's aged since the first one, since 2014. So I'm happy with it, but 384 words and it became a parody at sometimes. I need a gun. Like, I think he knows he's doing this in a parody, right? Winston, so he knows. He has to know he's doing a parody of himself. So whatever. But hey, he's making bank, so good for him.
Yeah. No, I gotta respect Keanu. Overall, yeah, I wish he did have some more lines, and I think we're going to talk about it when we talk about which John Wick you rank the highest. That he got a little bit more to do in the first movies, but I think this movie, unfortunately, I don't know about unfortunately, but he was outshined by our guy Donnie Yen. So I want to talk a little bit about Donnie Yen. And then we'll talk about the rest. I think Donnie Yen stole the show in a lot of scenes. He got a lot of funny stuff to say. They had to blind him to bring him to the level of everyone else in this movie.
We saw him as a blind disciple of the Force already, and we saw him already talk about
one. So it's funny because when I was watching the movie with Noah, like my son, I said, "Oh, this is Donnie Yen. He was in Star Wars Rogue One." He goes, "Who is he?" I said, "He was the blind guy." And he goes, "Is he really blind?"
Well, even if you go back to Blade 2,
movies he's seen him in.
Yeah, if you go back to Blade 2, he was wearing weird contact lenses too, and I think his eyes were also whited out in that.
With a very not appropriate nickname. Do you know what his call sign was, John?
In Blade 2?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Snowman.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they did him dirty in that film. Yeah, that was not good. Yeah.
All right, Stu, thoughts on Donnie Yen?
Honestly, it's hard for me to disrespect the Ip Man. If anyone's gonna watch anything, just go back and watch any of the Ip Man films. Those are the films that you need to watch of Donnie Yen. He's fine.
I would argue only the first one is watchable.
It's fine. Like
that's a whole other podcast. But yeah, go on.
He has a whole other podcast. And, this film, I think all the actors didn't have that much. I think, like again, Bill Skarsgård was probably the most interesting character to everyone. He was the only one that I'm like, oh, I'm interested to see his decisions. Yes, he is part of X-Force as mutant zeitgeist. But I feel like he's probably the most interesting character of all these films. So, yeah, everyone kind of just does the motions. Even Lawrence Fishburne was like, "Where's my check?" Like, so you just kind of hear for a couple bits, and that was it.
Yeah. It's massive proclamations. The king has arrived.
This movie was just basically just like, we just got to get this. We got to get to the set piece. How much dialogue what's the bare minimum we need to get to the riding horses, riding motorcycles, riding cars, shooting guns with bows and arrows and swords? Where do we need to get to that? And that was a big problem because there's no development. Because they're like, well, it's the fourth one. You don't need it. No, you still do.
Yeah. But I don't know. I thought he kind of stole the show. He got his own kind of whole storyline. He got to do a whole bunch of comedic bits. Like at the end where they're like, oh, and remember, if you don't do this, you're done. And he's like, shut up, right? Like, and then some of the other parts, he's eating the noodles and they're fighting, and they're like, are you gonna do something? He's like, I guess so. And then he's like, John, are you dead? And he's like, kind of like feeling around. Like, he got so many like little stingers in there, and
let's not talk about that terrible hair that he had, that wig that he's wearing.
Oh, the flashback hair. The flashback hair was pretty bad. Yeah. Flashback
the Ron Popeil hair in a can.
They should have given him a hat or something. I don't know if that was his real hair or that was. I feel like it was definitely a wig. But
yeah, the chat is talking about Donnie. Yes, Donnie Yen married a woman from Canada. So yeah, he was around for a while before they moved back to Hong Kong and lived the life. But yeah. He had his.
I
think
personally liked Donnie Yen in this movie. I thought it was.
Yeah, they had a ceremony here in
John.
Toronto too. Yeah, but carry on. Yes.
Yeah, he was really good in the movie, and the articles and interviews say that he fought to make his character not stereotypical. They wanted to put him in Mandarin collars. They wanted to call him Chen and stuff like that, or Chang or something generic. And he was like, no, I want to wear a fly suit like everybody else in this movie. So he had rocked the turtleneck with the blazers and all that stuff, had the cool aviators and different colors. And had a cool name, Kane. So that's cool.
Which begs the question: how would he know what color the aviators are, like to be able to match to his clothes? Seems ridiculous.
He lays them out properly. He knows. They were the exact same aviators every time, but just different colored lenses. Maybe they color change. Maybe that's like a new technology we don't have. But let's talk about the rest of the cast. Rob, how big of a fan are you of Klaus? I'm Klaus.
Oh yeah.
Who else in supporting cast do you love?
Whatever. Listen, man. We don't have. We don't have time to go through all the cast, John. I will say,
just pick someone else you would MVP.
Bill Skarsgård, I thought was fabulous as the bad guy in this. I thought he was better than Mark DeCostas in number 3 for sure.
Better than Zero, yeah.
He was more fleshed out. Like I really liked the intensity that Bill Skarsgård brought to this. Right? I mean, I was like, he's really young but he just, I don't know, man. That Skarsgård family have got something in the water there in Sweden because they bring their game. So
I just want to comment to Gord in the chat about Larry Fishburne. He's really funny in Blackish, and even sneaky funny in that MacGruber TV show. He was in for 7 episodes. Sneaky funny, really fun as the general in that show. So if you haven't had a chance to watch MacGruber, the TV show, it's a sneaky one back in 2021 that it came out. But yeah, it's Lawrence Fishburne. He can do things. He was fine. It was kind of they didn't have much for him to do. So I was just sad the TikTok man wasn't there. I'm like, where's Jason Sudeikis? Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah. But it had your buddy, Clancy Butler.
Clancy Brown.
Lex Luthor's voice, right?
Yes,
how do you feel about his part?
Again, underutilized. What's he doing? He's a voice. And he was also the voice of he's in Thor Ragnarok, because he plays the voice of the fire demon or whatever too. So he does stuff.
All right. Anyone else in the supporting cast you want to shout out?
It's not really anything interesting. Again, Bill Skarsgård's the most interesting part of that movie. I think he tries some weird things. He is menacing. He does a lot of things. Even the thing about when Mr. Nobody, the tracker, which again we haven't talked about him at all. Trying to negotiate, and he does stuff, and you're like, oh, this guy cannot, he doesn't care. So cutting off a finger as well. So I thought that he was good. And Ian McShane is Ian McShane. So yeah.
Least prevalent in this movie. Very, very small part. I do shout out Scott Adkins as a killer in the fat suit, really doing his Scott Adkins thing. And he did some crazy ass stunts. So it was really cool to see him get a little bit more light shone on him. But let's jump to the action scenes.
One last thing. The guy that runs the Continental Asia, the Japanese guy.
Yeah, Hiroku Sanada.
Yeah.
He does Hiroku Sanada things. He's just his stoic Japanese character.
Yeah, but you know what, though? It's so cool to see him. Every time I see him on screen, I'm like, it's
I remember you. You were in Endgame. Oh, yeah, you were in Avengers. And you're like, oh, wait, you were in, you were in Last Samurai. You're all these films. I'm like, oh yeah, you're great.
Yeah. I like when he's and kill some people on your way out, John Wick.
47 Ronin he was in.
He was in 47.
Oh, and let's not forget that he was in the best part of Mortal Kombat in the very beginning of the film. And we're like, oh, remember that cool scene in Mortal Kombat? And then the whole movie was just a wash.
Yeah, and Bullet Train as well.
Yeah.
See?
Bullet Train. Yeah, Bullet Train. Yeah,
he's a comforting blanket. He shows up, and I'm always like, this is awesome.
Yeah, he was in that scary movie Sunshine. Remember that film, Danny Boyle film? That was a classic one. So
Sunshine. Yep.
And Speed Racer. under forgotten, really good movie, Speed Racer. I don't care what anyone says.
I don't know about that, Stu. I think we're gonna have to test
Speed
that.
Racer is decent. Like it's under like.
I have it on Blu-ray. It looks pretty funky right now.
It's
a lot
not
of
really
green
that
screen.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
we
get
might
back
have to
it.
revisit that.
We'll have to revisit it. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's jump. Yeah, sorry. Let's jump to favorite action scene. Very rarely in a movie do we get so many options. But I have a quick list just so you guys can have reference. So the first main one, which Stu says is where the movie kicks off for him, is the Osaka Continental, where they raid it. Crazy shit goes down. And then following that is the Killa / club fight with Scott Adkins and lots of water going on. A lot of water in that scene. And then we have the Paint It Black, where everybody's like chasing him down. They got the ring around the whatever that was. Was it the Eiffel Tower or whatever?
No, the Champs Elysees.
I don't know never been to Paris.
The Eiffel Tower's a tower, John. That was just.
I don't know. How do you get around the thing though? It's
maybe it was Arch de Triomphe. There's things. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, there's that scene, and then there's the Hotline Miami Call of Duty overhead action sequences, which was really crazy. And then there's a whole uphill climb. So Rob, what is your favorite scene? Do you have one, or did I miss one?
No. Yeah, the one that you missed was how John Wick kept jumping onto planes to get to different places and not and just sitting in a.
It's like Bruce Wayne in
have to land
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. No. You know, listen. I think for me, like I loved all those action scenes. I'm not gonna lie. Some of them were a little bit bloated. I will say though, for me, the most visually stunning was the Dragon Breath scene. Right, the overhead. Seeing that camera change and pivot up to the overhead shot was just absolutely incredible. Like that one just gave me like the chill watching it. I absolutely loved it. And I was so excited to see that again when I saw it for the second time. I was like, I can't wait for the scene to come up. So for me, that was my favorite.
Yeah. Stu, what do you got?
Let's not forget the terrible sequence at the beginning of the movie where he's riding in the Mojave Desert. I honestly thought that the video of the movie like skipped. I'm like, what happened? The movie happening?
It was a time jump.
Did they forget like that edit? Whoever did the editing decided that should be the segue. Should just be basically fired. I was like, oh, what's happening? That little scene where he's riding and shooting people down on a camel.
Well, yeah, and then he kills that guy, and then it kind of like
it just kind of go. I'm like, what is the purpose of this?
That could have been cut if we have time to talk about what should have been cut. Maybe that could have been it. But Stu, what do you like?
I liked the Osaka Continental sequence. I thought it was really cool when they're like, when the daughter, we talk Arena, was like, you can't do this. He's like, nope, we're gonna do it. And then that old school, like all his guys pulling bows and arrows and doing samurai swords. I'm like, there we go. This is.
And then it gets into the dubstep, starts kicking in. You're like, all right.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, oh, Deadmau5 probably did something, but it was great. Like I thought that was my favorite sequence just because I was happy that it had different characters interacting and different fighting styles. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. And then the sequence ended where John Wick was. I've never seen a man do the Black Widow flip thing, where like usually Black Widow does it, where it's like she holds it flips person down. John Wick's doing it. I'm like, oh, that was really cool. And then he did it 3 times in a row. I'm like, now not so cool. How many times? We got it. You did it once. Black Widow doesn't do it 6 times in a row. She does it once, and you're like, oh, cool.
She does though. No, she does it once per movie, I think.
Yeah, once per movie. You don't do like it's like a car racing game. You don't do all your turbos in the first round. Hold them. 1 turbo.
Let me ask you a question though, Stu, because that sequence, I agree that the hotel sequence was phenomenal. But for me, where it got to be a lot bloated was then when he got into like the glass.
Yeah.
The upstairs portion where it was all like the glass.
Yeah.
So, do you consider that still as part of the Osaka hotel, or do you kind of look at that one separately? Because
I guess it's finicky as when the break happens. I guess you could say it is until they change venues. But like the whole thing beginning it was really worth the whole price of admission. Like if that was just. It was kind of like the RRRR moment where like, oh, this is the end of the movie? No, another sequence is coming. It's like, oh my goodness, really? Another sequence? I thought this could be the end of the movie. So yeah, it's that. We should go on. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say the uphill climb just because it's hilarious when he falls down at the end, and you're just like, oh my god, we just invested so much time in him getting that high. But I have to give it up to that Osaka Continental because
at that point he's not even fighting anymore, John. It's like he's walking upstairs. It's like that's like all of us old men. Our goal is to walk upstairs without a knee brace.
I felt that stairs scene. I was like, yo, dude, this is hard climbing upstairs. That's one of the hardest things in this movie probably so far. But the Continental scene, Keanu Reeves putting in the nunchuck work. So 10 minutes of him doing the nunchuck and not being silly like Michelangelo or being fancy like Bruce Lee, just cracking heads and kind of just whipping it back over his neck. I loved that sequence. There's like, nunchucks are outlawed here in Canada. And I feel like that sequence shows why it's such a dirty, nasty weapon. Whereas most of the time you just see Michelangelo party dude kind of doing the whoop 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 whoop, and then that's it. He made it look really nasty.
What sound does he make again? Sorry.
Yeah, shut up, Rob. Makes the sound you make on prom night. Anyways,
it's what it is. Like, and again, I think every scene had a kind of a plateau and an end. And I just felt that I would think about that sequence too. But by that point, John Wick's basically like, it's showing that he's basically not 100%, like he's broken down. And like, honestly, if you found a knee brace on the ground and put it on and walked upstairs, I'd have more respect, or a cane or something. Just kind of like, I got to get up to this hill. So yeah, it's, this is.
Well, if you follow them, there's a lot of videos on social media of them practicing the stuff and all that. But anyways, moving on. Since we've got it, who got it the worst? Who died the worst? Do you guys remember anybody in particular? I know a lot of guys died in this movie. So do you remember? Is it the dog biting the guy in the nuts, Rob? Like, do you have another nomination?
I don't think that's death. I think that's a life-altering injury, John. I believe that's what the terminology is, life-altering.
No, but there was one in the Osaka in the Continental where I feel like the guy got split. He was upside down and he landed and he broke his neck.
Yeah,
I remember that one going like, but there wasn't a lot.
Scott Adkins definitely got it bad. He his neck got crushified. And then he got punched in the face.
Crushified?
Yeah, crushified. And then he got punched in the face till his teeth fell out. There's one sequence where Keanu runs out of bullets, and then he takes the gun and the clip, and he basically murders two guys with that thing. I feel like that'd be a pretty shitty way to go. You're like, oh, he's out of ammo, let's go, and then he's like, oh,
it doesn't match when he killed the guy with the pencil in the last film. The buildup was already like, oh, he killed a man with a pencil, and then he did it, and John, I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing else now. Unless he killed a man with a paperclip. It doesn't matter.
It's hard to
playing cards. Instead of just cutting Scott Adkins with the card, if he had killed a dude with the card, that would have been sick. But he didn't.
All right. Okay. So there's too many guys that died, so we're not gonna be able to track that. But so Stu, you've already alluded to this. What would you cut if you had to make this into your director's cut, or would you just cut like an hour from it and call it a day?
Some of the beginning stuff was unnecessary. Like that whole sequence in the beginning, even the part where he's like you said, he's punching. Why do we even need him punching? Like, why does Lawrence Fishburne need to be here? You just have him show up in Paris. Like, it doesn't need to explain any of that. So it's one of those things where, and then the Donnie Young stuff, I get it, daughter, but we don't need that many sequences of them playing the violin in areas. Yeah. I was like,
there's only two.
There's a lot. Choose too many.
There was a lot of reiteration of the fact that he had the daughter, that there was a reason why he was doing all this. Rob, anything you would add to this movie?
Add? No. 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 But that Osaka, once they go upstairs and it just, with the guys that came in with the masks, and he kept shooting. There's that one guy that was right next to the giant, whatever. And he kept shooting the guy, and he kept falling back, and he was getting up, and he kept shooting him, and he was fighting other guys, and the guy kept stumbling around, and like that whole entire sequence up until Donnie Yen showing up was about 15 minutes of him fighting, going through the broken glass. I know he had the nunchuck thing, but there's so much of that in all honesty, he could have got up there, he could have done the nunchuck thing, and then Donnie Yen arrived. Instead, he had to fight 50 guys before Donnie Yen shows up. And it was just like, oh my God, like, we get it. Like, you guys are doing phenomenal things, but you really.
This is the counter of what people talk about complaining about Marvel films. It's like, oh, all these action sequences, it's just heavily CGI. The John Wick films are pretty much the same problem, except for it's like, oh, it's just action sequences, stunt choreography. The problem is, it's cheaper to do stunts than it is to do CGI stuff. So it's like, oh, we'll just patch this up with another action sequence, and eventually it just becomes uninteresting.
Yeah, the stair scene, I mean, to be honest with you, I felt like when you see him at the very bottom and he looks up and he huffs and he starts climbing, you kind of knew he's going to end up falling down this thing, right? Like, yeah, because if you didn't, we all would have been like, man, why you should have fallen down? That would have been hilarious. So you kind of knew that was happening, but again, it was long. Like, I just felt, for me, the biggest edit would be the Continental, that scene on the second floor. They probably could have trimmed that down to maybe about 7 minutes. And then everything else, even as much as I love the Dragon's Breath scene, everything else probably could have lost about 4 to 5 minutes. And it would have made the movie a pretty tight 220, right? 210. So I don't know. Yeah, because especially the Adkins scene in the club, like that was a very long, protracted scene as well. Him fighting,
and that was a side quest,
chasing
right?
him. What's that?
And that was a side quest, right? So that wasn't
that was
even
the
main
like
story
that
point.
honestly could have really been
because he needed the gypsy people to get him the thing, and then I'm like, oh God.
I kind of like them showing that little relationship, and then he has to get the tattoo, and that girl, I don't know if it's like,
this was a quite
tattoo when you're like scalding your skin.
Yeah, this was like Shaolin monk, like
it was like
arm on the hands and carry. Like I'm like, oh, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they did it like in Fast and Furious, like, oh, here's like, remember now they do race cars, like they show the cars there and then they show them driving back. Like, I don't need you to race anymore. I know you're the best racers. I know you have a turbo button. I know you have NOS. Do your NOS. Come back. It's like that's what they did really well in the last couple of Fast and Furious films. Like, oh, there's race wars. We don't need a whole 30-minute sequence.
You don't need to see the race where they win the car. You just need to see the end result.
They just show them. There's like, we show up and then we come out with new cars. That's all I need. We get it.
But you know what? In fairness, though, with the John Wick, the car in Paris, like that was really well done, and that could have been really bloated. And I felt that they had it pretty tight on that one, so I got to give it to them on that. Also, don't need the lady, the DJ at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
She was like an exposition drop. Like,
don't need it.
No,
don't need it. It's ridiculous. I also don't need to see that the money's going up and the people working the old school switchboards. Don't need any of that either. I don't need somebody showing with a map, like, with the Ouija board stuff, showing where he is. And I don't need it. I don't need any of that stuff. Right. The only scene that I'm glad they didn't edit or cut was when Winston was walking down that long hallway in the museum to go speak to the Marquis. And it was long, and you're sitting here and you're just listening to him. I burst out laughing during that scene because I was like, it was made to be so uncomfortable just hearing the clap of his dress shoes on the floor as he's walking, and he kept walking and kept walking. And I was like, this is brilliant. I love that scene.
Yeah, I would have actually taken the whole Osaka Continental scene and taken it out. I feel like these movies, this one and the third one, they're putting too much content. Almost the third one could have been split into 2 movies, and this one maybe could have been split into 2 movies. So you take out the Osaka Continental, you save it for another movie, and you keep his friend alive. You don't kill off that character because he's awesome. And you would,
but you need a daughter now who has revenge.
I know, but imagine him and Keanu side by side, like samurai sword action.
Yeah, it's called Forrest Ronin.
No one's gonna watch Forrest Ronin. It's terrible.
John, I don't know if you know this. He also did a movie with one of the greatest actors of our generation, Mr. Tom Cruise. Let's watch that one again.
Last Samurai?
All
right.
Yeah, Last Samurai.
Enjoy Last Samurai.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so let's jump to it. Let's rank our John Wicks.
Wait, before we do that, because I know we're going to get going. The one thing I got to tell you guys, though, one thing that I did find irritating, I know they have to ramp up the superhero aspect of this, but the complete invincibility, after a while, I will say, him doing this with the suit jackets, right? Like, it got to be just way too much, like, doing...
It was too Batman?
Yeah, it was horrible. Like, using the suit jacket to deflect the bullets. Like, it became just like absurd to the point of like annoying at times. Only slightly redeemed by the fact when he took his jacket off, all the bullet casings fell out. You're like, okay, that's pretty funny. But aside from that, like, I got really annoyed with that everybody has these amazing suits, and he fell 4 times in this movie, like from like extremely large heights, and never had any scarring. If you look at the first one, though, covered in blood, bruises, limping, and in this one, not so much.
It's like that Fast and Furious effect, where that one movie where Vin Diesel launches from a tank to save, I think, Rodriguez or someone, and you're just like, okay, yeah, there's superheroes now. This is a superhero franchise. But yeah,
Gord's like, yeah, let's all agree the worst part about this franchise is Ruby Rose. Incorrect. That would be Halle Berry.
You think so? Okay, let's do it. Okay, so Rob, what is your John Wick ranking then?
My ranking is as such, John. Thanks for asking. John Wick. So number 1, 4, 2, and 3.
Oh, 2. You put 3 last, eh? Okay.
Yeah, 3's a piece of shit.
Whoa! All right.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Thanks to Halle Berry and the dogs.
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay, so I'll jump with mine. So I put John Wick 1. I put 4 just because of Donnie Yen. I think it gets accelerated to 4. I put 3, and then I put 2 last because I think a lot of people mix up the things that happen in 3 as 2. And 2 kind of like not a ton happens, and then he just kind of goes and gets excommunicado at the end of 2. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in 3. The Halle Berry scene, some people love it, some people hate it. But you have the Continental scene, the raid on the Continental with Lance Reddick, and things like that. So I would probably watch 3 over 2 for sure. But number 1, like Stu said earlier, it just lays all the groundwork. It has the best kind of storyline. It's got the car in it. It's got the dog in it. It's got a really solid villain. I forgot what that guy is, other than Boris the Bullet Dodger. But he's a really amazing villain. That guy, he always plays every Russian villain.
Peter Stormare.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is, but
yeah, he's number 2. But why did you put him last? What you're saying? That's number 2. So you're saying that's the worst?
No, he's in the first one.
No, Peter Stormare is in the second one.
Who's the father of the son in the first one?
Yeah, that's Michael. That's the guy we just saw that from.
Michael Nyqvist.
Yeah, Nyqvist from. We just saw him in Mission Impossible. John. He was the. Remember, he was the guy that fell off in was a Ghost Protocol, fell to the bottom with the car.
Kurt Hendricks.
Oh. Yeah, well, whatever. The bad guy for 1, I thought got the most fleshed out. Number 2 was the guy who wanted the marker, right? He claimed the marker and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't.
And then you have Mark Dacascos. Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
As your villain for the third one.
No, Mark Dacascos is 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what. Yeah.
Common and Ruby Rose was in 2.
Yeah,
that was the main villain.
That's why everyone, I think, mixes up 2 and 3. I prefer 3 over 2. But Stu, you got your ranking now?
Yeah, the more I think about it, it's John Wick 1, just because of Osaka, John Wick 4, John Wick 3, and then John Wick 2.
Yeah.
But I think that's because, honestly, that scene where he fights Boban, like in John Wick 3, that 7-foot basketball player guy.
Oh, yeah, the book.
Really,
the
like,
library, right?
In the library, I was like, dude, like, that was like I remember that. And then Mark Dacascos is fine. Like he's doing his like Iron Chef goofiness that I'm kind of all about. Like he's like the only one not taking it seriously. Common and John Wick 2 is taking it very seriously. Rubio Rose, to all of our credit, didn't speak, so she's doing the sign language, which was fine. But I do like the fact that Mark Dacascos was like, he's just like, I'm
big fan,
gonna go crazy, and everyone's like, yeah, man, this is great. Like he really just hammed it up, which is what the John Wick film should be. It should be like, in my mind, it should be basically like that Australian like bad guy from Commando, right, John? Like Rob, that the guy wearing the chainmail, like just be over the top villain. Those are the fun ones.
Though, is that number 3? Listen, I feel like number 1 was the most concise, point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And I think number 4 does as well. Number 2 expands a little bit, but number 3 got so off the rails trying to build this massive world that number 4 is such the antithesis to that, because 3 just got way out of control with too much shit. They're like, okay, we got to bring this shit back. I could be honest, like I was looking forward to seeing John Wick 4, but not super excited because I just felt that 3 was just way too out of control. So I'm really glad that they corrected like the how they were going to tell the story. So that's why I think 3 is an abomination. Like there's some coolness in it. There are some really cool scenes, but the sum of its parts are just, it's not. And it, again, you have Halle Berry who destroyed the James Bond universe, and now you're bringing her in a John Wick. I'm out.
I thought she was fine. I think John Wick 3 has.
It's also the worst part of the X-Men universe. Like,
okay, I'll agree with you on the X-Men.
I'm not
can't figure out what the accent she's
like
doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. I don't know. She has no.
Academy Award-winning Halle Berry. Now, Miss Berry, please. These two do not represent the whole views of the Heel World, podcast / Sidekicks podcast. No.
Stu wants that Catwoman 2 cameo. That's why. He's aiming for that.
Please let me be in Swordfish number 2. I'll be the guy that applies the suntan lotion. Please.
Swordfish. Dig that one up. All right. Gord throws in Mr. Nobody in between the John Wick 1 and John Wick 4. I thought it was funny that they called that other guy. He's like, I'm nobody for a second there. I'm like, oh, they're doing Mr. Nobody. They're stealing Bob Odenkirk's thing. I thought that guy was cool, even though
made by the same production company, John. It's not stealing anything. They're all part of the same.
Oh, true. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
it's all fine. It's all there. Although the Santa Claus film would be a part of this too. So Gord, reconfigure based on Silent Night. Because please fix that, please. Because I think Silent Night would be ahead of some of the John Wick films as well.
Gord says she peaked in Swordfish. I think a lot of guys also peaked in watching Swordfish.
Never gonna rewatch that movie. Did you guys see the trailer for that Sisu movie at the beginning of John Wick?
Yeah,
it was the World War II like Nazi killer guy.
Like the Nazis being that
looks awesome.
Yeah, it comes out this in May, I believe. So I might have to go see that.
Yeah,
I think there's some things for her in terms of her filmography. She's not bad. Come on, guys. I think you're just over.
So I know we got to get going here, but here's John. I'm going to jump ahead for a question. So, do you guys believe that this is the final? And I'm not talking about the ballerina because I know he'll be in it, but this is the final John Wick movie. And if so, are you happy with that, or do you want a chapter 5?
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was the end. As soon as I saw that thing at the end, I was like, oh, it's part of his play. There's still a whole high table thing that he was going to take down. I feel like he wouldn't stop halfway and not do it. And then you had like stuff like the Clancy Butler character. He was missing the finger like John Wick, right? Yeah. So there's so much other story to tell. I don't think this is the end of it, and I don't think this is the end of Keanu playing the character either. Stu?
I think it's a good pause. I think we needed a break. I think Keanu doesn't need money. And I think you also saw the pictures that he bought all the stunt team like Rolex watches with their names on it. So I'm like, again, there's no doubt that everyone loves Keanu Reeves, the human being. He's everything you could ask for and an amazing person. In terms of John Wick, I'm happy either way. Like, if it comes back, great. But I think that's a long time. We need a real break from him being John Wick. Again, I'm indifferent. Like, great, one more. But at the same time, I could totally be cool with no more John Wick films. I think we've talked about it. It's peaked so early. And now it's just bona fide just action sequences. And you can get someone else to do it. You don't need him. Let Keanu do other things.
Oh, yeah. Other characters could carry the torch for sure. Rob, what do you think? Keanu's
and again, it's like it didn't make that much money. So again, the proposition is like he's not like Matrix money. So it's like it's hard to
all the John Wick still, right?
But like,
350 worldwide in just shy of a month.
As Rob said, went up. So it's not like it's cheaper to make. Like, so I think at the end of the day, it's like his box office recognition and name and branding isn't as high. So he can't get whatever he wants done. So I could see him like, fine, I'll do a John Wick film, but let me do, the wedding resort trip movie with, again, where it's him and, He did that movie with
Oh, I
I
tried to
watched
watch
it
that.
recently. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. With his it was him and Winona Ryder, and it was
Yeah.
like basically just them, and it's Destination Wedding. It's him and Winona Ryder as two like people
Yeah.
that don't like each other that go to a resort like Destination Wedding. And Keanu just plays Keanu. I kind of like him better in that film than I do in some of these John Wick films because at least he has dialogue.
Yeah, I don't know. Rob, do you want to see Keanu back, or are you done with Keanu?
No, so I know we'll see him we'll see him in the Ballerina movie next year, and that's fine. I do not want a proper John Wick 5. I don't want to see him. I hope that this is the end. I think it should be the end. He is 58, I believe, right now. I think this was the perfect button to the overall arc and story that they set out to tell. There's really no loose ends, to be honest with you. There's really not. There's the Inception ending, if so, without spoiling. So if we don't know, but I'm happy with it. I don't need another one. I'm content with having the quadrilogy and calling it a day there. Otherwise, you start getting into freaking Alien 5 and then Alien versus Predator. Like, just no point. So,
well, but let's be fair. The stars are not the humans. It's the Predator and the alien. So I'm fine with that. It's constantly going forward. John Wick is basically Keanu Reeves. You can't do another John Wick film without him. So it's a different proposition.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel like Stu said they're just taking a break. And he's got one more. How old was Liam Neeson when he started doing Taken?
Ooh,
like was
already
he
late 50s.
Late 50s when he started, I think.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's different, man.
The story has been told. You don't need to keep building upon it. Yeah. Leave it the way it is.
And like at this point, you're just gonna get hurt, and you don't want to see sad Keanu because he broke his leg doing a stunt. You're like, come on.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, let the man just.
Next thing you know, you're on the Millennium Falcon, and your leg's getting crushed by a door.
Oh my god!
On you, and you're taking
let that man paint. Let that man make motorcycles. Let him just live his best life. That's it.
Yeah, take a TGC in Toronto. Just let it be.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That should be his next. That should be his next movie: a security guard for the TTC and taking down bad guys. You didn't pay your fare.
Have your Presto card.
Yeah. I'm gonna need ID.
No, fair jumping. Anyways, all right. Any last final thoughts on John Wick 4 before we close the chapter? Close up chapter 4 and we wait for
the only thing is that Steve in the chat asked if John Wick 4 was the only movie to get an end title card. Parabellum is the only one with so Parabellum is the only one that had like a subtitle. That was it, number 3. Everything else was John Wick 2, Parabellum, and then John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah, and no stingers other than
it's clearly one of those situations where when you buy a trade, 3 are the exact same and the 4th one's just completely different. You're like, come on.
What Spine's different. They've changed.
Spine's different. You're like, what are you guys doing? Spine 1, 2, 3 are the same. 4 is different. 5's back to the other version. Savages. Yeah.
Yeah. End credits. Do you think Kane kills this girl or does he get taken out?
I don't know if I care enough.
Yeah, you don't care.
I don't think that girl could take out Kane because Kane couldn't even take
so.
John Wick. So I'm like, I don't think so.
No, she's pretty cool, but yeah. Although now that I think about it, we actually did kind of see Keanu on a subway train in John Wick 4. So in all fairness, he probably could easily transition into the subway.
Yeah, he was fighting Common, just shooting guns on the shoulder with each other in the subway.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool.
Thank
you, everybody. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
All right, thanks everybody for sticking with us. I don't think we got anything else on tap or planned yet, so look forward to. We definitely got to hit up Mandalorian. We definitely got to talk about a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if Rob's ever going to see Dungeons and Dragons, so we might have to.
Rob, we got to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, man. We got to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. And we need your thoughts. It's not going to be a good pod if it's just John and me spoiler gushing. So we got to talk about. We need another opinion.
Rob be like, I don't get D&D. I don't understand this Dungeons and Dragons thing.
It's Chris Pine. You love Chris Pine. Damn it, watch this film.
You should buy it. He's your guy. He's your guy. No?
We'll
Rob is not going to go see it. All right. Anyways.
No,
thank you very much.
I might. If I'm going to, I'll try to go this weekend. But I don't know. We'll see.
How about Super Mario? Did anyone in the comments see Super Mario? Let us know. I don't know if Stu.
John, I have to go.
See that. Yeah. All right. Let's rock and roll. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Stu. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you for staying so late.